Good afternoon, everybody. I'm saying good afternoon because we're just probably about a minute afternoon. Gary Wilkins, we'll go for a minute after 1 to make sure we don't chip you of an hour of the show. How's that sound? Gary's a time guy. He's my timekeeper. He keeps me honest, Gary.
All right. All right.
My name is Paul K. Lemire. This is Dave Wheeler over here, Wheels. And today, of course, is City Council Agenda Review Day, the day that we actually go through the City Council agenda and make sure that we give you the highlights. We do the work, so you don't have to. You know what the main parts are. You can check them out and when you're watching and buzz through the parts that are boring, because there's a lot of boring stuff going on at City Council all the time. Yes. Right, Davey boy?
Yeah, that's right. And somewhere along the line, one of these days, I'm going to convince you that I need a tax relief.
Yeah, you need to. Well, you know, I had to get a new liner in my pool. And so, of course, when you fill it up, you use city water.
Yeah.
And so I got an alert from City Hall. Make sure this thing's on here. Mm-hmm. I got an alert from City Hall saying that I had over water usage.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, like you got something wrong with your system, buddy. And I appreciate them for sending me that. That's awesome. Because somebody who had a real problem would need to be, would need to have this recognized as a problem in your system.
Sure, especially if your neighbor's using your water to fill up his pool.
Yeah, exactly. I used to do that, but now it's on me. Nobody wants to volunteer their hose. So anyway, the bottom line is I sent him an email back saying, hey, listen, is there any way that maybe we can just bill me for the water and forget the sewer? Because nothing's going in the sewer. It's all going in the pool. And I got a letter back saying, oh, no, we don't do that kind of thing, right? But surprisingly enough, my pool is around 90,000 liters.
90,000.
And, when you subtract maybe, because you don't fill it right to the top of the pool, the deck, you leave it
20,000 gallons or about.
Yeah, about 20,000 gallons. Yeah, and then, so probably I get billed for around 70,000 liters. There's probably this much of the pool. So the bill was only like around $275 for that.
Really?
Yeah, including sewer fees and that. So I was really surprised. I thought it was going to be a lot more. It's cheaper than getting trucks of water in, I'll tell you that right now.
Well, you can see the volume of water that you paid for. Most people don't.
Yeah.
So if people have a very high water bill, then that tells you that they're using a lot of water excessively.
It's probably leaks or something like that.
Could be leaks, and it could be just like people taking 20-minute showers every day.
Yeah,
that could be a thing,
Yeah, that's why I stand there, and when I stand there,
green bastard,
I stand there, and when the shower's too long, I just shut the valve off. Yeah. I get a valve outside the shower. I can control showers.
Oh yeah.
No, not really.
My father was going to do that, he said.
But it makes a difference if you got leaks and stuff, because I know one time, and we're getting off the city council here, but it is our tax dollars that pay for everything. One time I remember that I got a bill that was excessive, right? And I replaced all the guts of my toilet.
Oh.
The 2 toilets. I replaced them all because I knew they were leaking a bit. I didn't know how big an effect they would have. And sure enough, that bill went down to where it should be again, just from a couple toilets running for 2 months, just dripping a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Makes a big difference. So, and I spent, I don't know, $100 to get them fixed or whatever, just to put new guts in them, especially the floats and all that. And that was that. That's problem solved. So over to the agenda, Davey boy. And we got some planning matters, a couple other items, nothing major.
Of course,
now first we're going to talk about our sponsors in a minute. But we have the usual pre-meeting ceremonies, including an in-camera meeting that starts at 2, ends at around 5 usually. So the real show starts tomorrow afternoon at 5 o'clock, around 5. And of course, your alma mater recording the Ann Meyer Music Group to sing "O Canada." And then we have the Indigenous ceremony. And then we're on to the presentations, a few presentations, and the City Council actual meeting. Now, I got to get to my sponsors first. Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue, and Hamill Machine Company. Now I have a 4th sponsor.
No way.
I got a 4th sponsor, Niagara Parks Commission.
You got 4 people liking you? That's impossible.
Niagara Parks Commission. Never mind.
Well, that's a good one. That's a really
Niagara
good one,
Parks Commission is sponsoring the show.
Thank you, Niagara Parks.
So there you go. So let's talk about my first sponsor, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop. Listen, you got a problem with your car. If you are just wanting your car running right for the summer, so when you take off for the summer, it's running properly and it's not going to break down on you. You be proactive. Take it to Ken Hunter at Wild Bill's, and Ken is going to make sure all systems are go. He's going to look at your brakes, your fluids, your air conditioning, everything you need for a happy motoring this summer, and you're not going to break down and not have everybody getting mad at you. He's got a full body shop there. Take your car in wrecked. It comes out in showroom condition. You're happy. Everybody's happy. You want to talk to Ken Hunter at Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, Oakwood Drive, next to the Kia dealership. Call them today, wildbillsauto.ca. Go to the website, see what they offer, make an appointment, get that oil change. And if you haven't got those winter tires off in June, well, you're just, what can you call somebody like that?
Oh, well.
Procrastinator,
yes. Oh, well, ill-advised. Well, I would say
they'll ruin the tires. Number one.
Well, ill-advised. Well, tires. Yeah, you got to get them off because they're a lot softer. Irresponsible, I would call it. Irresponsible.
So give them a call today. And while you're online looking at their website and you're watching this video, subscribe, like, comment, hit the notification button. You want to know when it's on. You want to support the channel. We want the algorithm to go out into the community and get people watching, because we want to get people involved for the next election, don't we? Yes, we do. And that's in 2026. So we have to get ready for it. People are running. They're going to start declaring. I can't wait. We're not that far away. People are starting to talk already. Get involved.
I'm going to predict you're going to be disappointed. After the 2026 election.
Why?
Because we always are.
Oh, yeah. That's a foregone. Yeah, I should have known that. That's a good one. You got me. I should have known that. Every time we go through an election, we're sitting here going,
yeah, that's the best we could do.
And we have an election night show usually to celebrate it. I don't know if we will this year. There's so many shows going, but we'll try to get it in 2026 for sure. Okay, so all the pre-meeting ceremonies, I don't see anything in the deputations or any of that I wanted to talk about. It's just formality, a lot of them.
Well, you got the MR Music Group, and yep. I want to know what they want me to bring with me tonight, because I used to play bass clarinet and baritone sax. Which one do you want me to bring, guys?
Yeah, well, tonight's a good night for you to go, because the meeting's tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
You bring all that crap there, they'll let you play in the city all night.
Well, yeah. I'll be a busker.
They don't have to listen to it.
I'll be a busker.
Yeah. So the first item I see here
is... Don't pay me to stop playing.
first item I see here is 7.2. And it's in an interesting presentation from the Niagara Peninsula Energy, which is the corporation that we as taxpayers own 75% of via the Niagara Falls Holding Company, with the other 25% owned by Peninsula West Power, which represents the taxpayers of Town of Lincoln, Town of Pelham, and Township of West Lincoln, so that everybody knows who owns what. And it's a good presentation that I recommend every taxpayer in Niagara Falls go through, since you own it. Niagara Falls Holding Company Board of Directors is made up of all the counselors, to the tune of around $4,500 a year per counselor, just so that you know that too. And the Niagara Peninsula Energy's Board of Directors is made up of 8 people from different municipalities, with Mike Strange, Victor Pietrangelo, Mayor Jim Diodati, representing from Niagara Falls. So you have the Niagara, you have the Holdco and the Niagara Falls Holding Company, and councilors make up the board of Niagara Falls Holding Company. Holdco has a board of their own. The MPEI have a board of their own, and we have 3 of our councilors on there. So that explains that. Did you get that, Dave?
I sure did. Yep.
It's a tangled web, but it's a good report that everybody should be looking at.
It's kind of interesting how it's made up. It's made up of the city of Niagara Falls, Town of Lincoln, West Lincoln, and Pelham. It's odd when you look at the map. You think that whole area should be one, but it's not. It's like this piece and that piece. So I don't know. Where does St. Catharines get their power?
Yeah, they have their own, and so does Niagara Lake.
Yeah.
They
haven't amalgamated with us?
No.
Oh, that's because they're uppity.
No, and of course, Niagara Falls Holding Company is the company that sold Niagara Regional Broadband to Cogeco and held our $45 million, of which they released at the end of last year, 2024, $22 million to the city. And we've talked about that many times. So, oh, what a tangled web we weave, Dave. Try to follow the money, everybody. Slay the hand.
Yeah.
Or read that report. It tells you about the hydro and what they're doing and what they're making and everything else. Just anything else you want to say about that?
No, it's just, it is a really good report. I would recommend that. Well, like, I was surprised. I didn't know that the communities that made it up were so spread, far apart, basically. Well, Lincoln and West Lincoln are side by side, but then there's tiny little Font Hill in the middle, and there's big Niagara Falls too. So it's just very, very different, I thought.
It is.
Okay.
Just adjusting the mic so we get your voice in there to make sure we hear what you're saying.
My operatic voice.
Yodely ooh. Okay. Item 7.3 is an interesting piece of correspondence from Grand Bazaar, Niagara. Now, that is, I believe, and I know the guy who runs it, and I believe it's a Turkish bazaar like the one they have on Throatstone Road.
I'm not so sure. They do have a kind of a Turkish bazaar, Oriental sort of Middle East bazaar there.
Yeah.
But I don't know this particular one that he's talking about.
Well, it's right down on Victoria Avenue, across from Pete's Pizza, that area there.
Yeah.
And I believe that they sell goods, but they're receiving competition from pop-up vendors right next door selling the same type of goods. So the argument is, hey, listen, I pay taxes, I have a building, I have bricks and mortar that I have to pay for, and employees. These guys just put up a pop-up business next to me, and basically they do what they want.
Yeah, they pay a fee, but they don't pay taxes, etc. They don't have lights and overhead and all the other things. And he is complaining that this is unfair competition.
It's like a food truck right next to a restaurant.
Not a good idea.
No, it's not fair, really, when you think about it, because they have to pay taxes and everything else, and the pop-up food place, that food truck, doesn't have any of those obligations, so, they're undercutting their prices and stuff, and it's just not fair. So anyway, he's come to City Hall to let them know what he thinks, and it'll be interesting to see where council goes with this one.
Well, right now they can't make a move, and nor can the bylaw or anybody else, because the law has already stated that these independents are legal and where they are legal. And they can't do anything about it unless council changes the bylaw. So basically, that's the route they have to go.
Okay.
Now, he's made this point that, look, this is very unfair. And the city's come back to him and says, well, you know what? We've made the bylaw, to accommodate these part-time vendors. And unless we change it, there's nothing we can do. So it's pretty much what they're going to have to discuss. Do they want to change it? Like when you do have a actual brick and mortar restaurant, now what happens first? So what if you have a chip truck or something there on the street, and then a restaurant comes in beside it later? Who gets preference? There's a lot of angles here.
Yeah, so exactly. It'll be an interesting conversation. You might want to listen to that one and see where they go with it.
I think it'll probably just defer it for study.
Defer it to staff for study. Yeah, they do that a lot.
Yeah, because each one of these counselors wouldn't have read the bylaws and all that. Maybe Lori, but most of the other ones wouldn't have.
Let's move on to item 7.4. I suggest everyone go through this. The province mandated that all cities take stock of their assets, everything, and determine deficiencies and strive to correct those deficiencies, whether it's roads, buildings, or unseen infrastructure, or vehicles and that kind of thing, and plan for vehicles to be retired and buy new vehicles and that kind of thing. What this inventory did was determine how much was needed to correct deficiencies, and that amount comes to about $302 million over the next 10 years, along with a $58 million gap over the next 10 years to deal with wastewater issues. So what does this mean? Well, if council cannot find efficiencies, then it means tax hikes. And I'm talking substantial tax hikes. So you got to read the report and watch council to see what they say on this one when anybody comments on it. Did you go through that at all, Davey?
Yeah, a little bit. The setting levels of services, what is the real foundation of this? How many services do you want, and how well do you want them that service to come across? And that will determine how much money it costs. So you have to of course look for efficiencies. You have to determine what you can how best to serve the public and how much that's going to cost. And of course, they're talking all about their complete infrastructure, water, sewer, roads, the works, assets that are sound and assets that are partials, and all kinds of things like that. So you have to evaluate your assets, and and you see if you can, and also money that you have to lean against your assets in order to borrow money.
Yep, borrow money and keep them up to snuff.
We can put something up like like the cement ping pong table. How much that give us for that?
Well, see, yeah, and that's a good point, Dave, because this is where it comes down to wants and needs. We have to define exactly what we need to keep the city running great, and to keep the city with good roads and safe and that kind of thing. It takes so much money, and before we deal with frivolities. What is that? Whatever it is.
Those things.
Those things. You have to make sure that you take care of your infrastructure and your real critical things first. And that's when we talk about wants versus needs. A lot of people talk that, well, we need safe roads. We need good roads. We need infrastructure that's working properly for everybody. Do we need a concrete ping pong table? No. Do we need another walking trail? No. Those are wants. They're great to have, but when things get tight, we take care of our needs rather than our wants. So that's another good report you should watch and see what council says to that. Read the report, watch council, see what they have to say to this one.
Yeah, it's a 10-year plan, basically. They've brought in consultants. I don't know how much that cost.
Lots.
Looks like a couple of different consultants on this one. They're proposing, like for the road conditions, a 2.2 increase, and they're talking about setting levels of service. Notice though, right on the top of the list really is what they want is roads. Roads or transportation is the first thing.
Makes sense.
And then water and sewage. So basically, it's transportation, and it's even in a different color, right? And then it comes water, wastewater, stormwater, and then everything else included: parks, trails, natural assets, recreation facilities. All that comes all grouped into one. Although they did add fire services, which is a very costly one.
That's the biggie. That's the $30 million one that nobody wants to touch. It's sacrosanct. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody even wants to touch it. Although Jason Burgess, our CAO, the Penguin, he always is looking at it, and his thing is, hey, listen, our most expensive department in the city for taxpayers is the fire department, and you won't even let me look at it. So you want me to save you money? How can I save money if you won't let me look at a department and analyze it and figure out if we can do more with less or whatever? Well, not saying that he will, just saying that it's something to look at.
We try to save us $230,000, right?
Yeah, $250,000. Yeah, for a dispatch, and they turned them down flat. City council.
And the reason why city council turned them down because they were ignorant. They didn't listen to what he had to say. They were there saying, "Oh, a microsecond here or there, well, somebody will die." No, it's instantaneous communications, and this got backed up. So the whole argument that we should have our own is not sustainable.
No, it isn't. And
particularly when those service people would be employed in that new dispatch, they would be absorbed.
Yeah, exactly.
Not lose their job.
Okay, I'm out of the sevens. I'm going to the eights now. Anything else in the sevens that you thought was important to talk about?
Well, it was just also this planning thing and how that's going to map itself out. I noticed there's a lot of sort of housekeeping things going on, trying to modernize our city hall, the electronics, the communications, and all these other things, and that in itself will save money. Just
Save time and money.
Yeah, just efficiencies. Yeah.
Item 8.1, we're going to get to after my second sponsor, Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue. You want a great pizza. You want a consistently good pizza, because that's the problem that I find with any pizza, is that it's not consistent. I'll have it one time, it's great. I'll have it the next time, it sucks. Pete's Pizza uses the Mancini family recipe for sauce and crust. They know how to put it together. Perfect ratio of cheese to sauce. Fresh toppings. You can't beat Pete's Pizza. They make a fantastic pizza time after time after time. You're not going to be disappointed, because when you go there, you're going to get the same great pizzas they always serve. Now, they're not a one-hit wonder. They have wings. They have steak and cheese poutine. They have all kinds of different dishes on there. So if you're not a pizza person like I am, you're going to find something you like. Also, they have specials all the time. I think it's something like 15% off for the month of June. If you order over $25 worth of food, they have a tray of pizza for $19.99 with 3 toppings. On Wednesdays, they have their chicken wings at $9.49 or something like that, $9.69 a pound on Thursdays. They have everything there. You can't go wrong. Pete's Pizza, Victoria Avenue. Support our sponsors. They support you. 905-374-2222. Pete'sPizzaVictoria.ca for your orders, but they use Skip and Dine and all those other services. So you can't go wrong. How can you go wrong with a fresh, hot pizza delivered to your door? I can't find anything wrong with that. Support our sponsors. They support the show in the city.
Can I just go back to 7.4 for a second?
Yes, of course.
I have down here that they're discussing funding gaps. Of course, they're getting into funding gaps, which really just means the money that you need for a project and the money that's available. And the difference between that is the funding gap.
Is the gap.
So if to fix your road is going to cost $10 million and you've got $2 million, the funding gap is $8 million. And now that will have to be made up over time, or you're going to have to borrow money to pay for it now, or pay for it over time. So a little at a time. So there is different arguments on this, which way to go. Sometimes it's better to borrow the money if the interest rates are low. Other times it's better to defer it over some years. So there you have it.
Yeah, and I mean, the only other...
This is a 10-year project, like I said.
The only other option, either increase your revenue, which is tough for a city. They have to start charging more for parking and stuff like that, or they have to issue a debenture, borrow the money basically, or raise our taxes.
That's what's going to happen. Well, they're trying to do this modestly. As you can see, it doesn't look as if it's that bad. Like it says, 2.2% for the roads and 2.75 annual levy increase for 10 years and blah, 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 blah. I would like to see what it is when it really all adds up. What kind of percent?
Well, it's probably 7.9% a year for the next 10 years. That seems to be the way everybody's going. At least 4%, which is the consumer price index or whatever the heck they use as a benchmark. See, it's that, and then it's another 1% for the asset management. So, yeah. Item 8.1 under planning, 6111 Carlton Street between Barker and Cope Streets. And I believe this has come before City Council. I think it came last meeting or another meeting. And basically, 6 townhouse units, 1 detached dwelling. Staff has recommended approving this build. There were several concerns from area residents at a public meeting, which were all resolved by the developer, including a unit removed to accommodate more on-site parking. That's a nice surprise.
Yes, I like that. Somebody responsible. Well, you know what? To get the favor of the rest of the neighborhood, that's a good idea, because you don't want, you can see people parking in front of your house, parking on the street, that kind of thing. So I thought that was a pretty good move too. But it's an odd shaped piece of property, isn't it?
It is. It's in the middle of a neighborhood. It's all residential. So, yeah. And I don't know if I would want this between my house and the house next door to me. If there was a house that was going to be sold and done. But it's approved and it'll work in there.
Is
I
this
guess.
an old city park that this is being turned over, or is it somebody actually owned it?
It's a big piece of property that
somebody owned it.
Yeah, because the next street I think from Carlton is like you're looking at, Dorchester Road, basically.
Yeah.
Corwin would be another street they go to, and they're pretty long, so that's a big yard. That's why they can fit 6 townhouse units in there.
Wow.
But that's what the province is going to, these infilling, and is that Mike Strange out there? Look like him. But
that hobo-looking guy?
the homeless guy. He looks like Mike Strange. Look at him. I hope it's not him, man.
Things have gone downhill for Mike.
Well, he's got to clean up for tomorrow, I'll tell you.
Checking out the dumpsters there.
But
legal costs.
If I looked real quick, I'd go, Mike, how you doing? But anyway, so they're gonna do it. The developer has decided to give the surrounding neighbors concessions to make it work for them too. So I like that kind of stuff, and they did get rid of one for parking. So I think that'll be approved, no problem, and away we go.
Yeah, as long as the neighbors are okay with it, and most people are very reasonable and accommodating. They see the need for housing themselves, and there's this big piece of property that would be developed one day or another. And you know what? And when you look at the development, you see the way it is. You think, well, it could be a lot worse, right? Doesn't look bad, so let's go with it.
Item 9.1, insurance renewal. Now, this is interesting. They renewed the city's insurance, and it was at a price of $2.159939 million. So $2,159,939 for the year. A nice chunk of change that increased 0.58% from last year, so not a huge increase. Insurance is what it is. We know that. I didn't see if they went to market for competitive quotes, but usually, like you're dealing with a city with a lot of properties, a lot of equipment, a lot of everything, and insurance is expensive. That's all there is to it. You know what you pay for your car? Imagine 500 of those. In your house, imagine 500 of those.
Yeah.
And you add it all up, and 2.1 million is the price.
Well, it's only a 0.58% increase. And that's what they're highlighting here, is there's only a 0.58% increase because the insurance rates have softened up. That's how they put it. Those insurance rates have softened up for some reason. I don't know what that is. It's a surprise to me. I think insurance likes to gouge you every which way and going. But
usually claims experience.
Yeah, so they've softened this up a bit. So we're getting a bit of a break. We can expect an increase, but we got a very modest increase as far as insurance is going.
Yeah.
And I think it's nothing that the city has done. Basically, it's just circumstance. I guess we just we can be covered for that amount of money.
Yeah, actually, to be honest with you, if there was a lot of claims by the city, then obviously that price may be a little bit more. But I know one thing. If you hit a pothole and blow your tire out and need an alignment or bend your rim, they're not paying. Their claims experience is good because they don't pay. So that's the bottom line. Believe me, I showed pictures. I had a thing right here. Here, your city, you didn't fix the pothole and screwed up my car. And they said, no, we're not paying. We're not paying.
Well, can you sue the city? Well, like if Burgess yells at you, can you say I'm emotionally distraught now?
Yes. You can take them to small claims court, but the problem is, by the time you go there and waste all your time for $300 or $400, it isn't worth it. I mean, if it was $25,000 or $10,000 your claim, I would definitely go because you might have a case to win it, right? Although they're going to have their hotshot lawyer there. What's her name?
Yeah, I don't know.
Pam Bondi of Niagara Falls or whatever she is, and she's pretty good at what she does. So you may never not win anyway. They'll just say it wasn't our fault, and they and blah blah blah, and we never had this notice. So yeah,
oh yeah,
they go through all the.
Yeah, no choice against my guy, Whiplash Finkelstein.
Yeah. Till we dick them in how. That's the lawyers. Yeah, item 9.2, a debenture financing. Staff is looking to add $2.4 million to the revenue side of the ledger through debt financing, debentures, and is looking for approval from council for it. The debt will be borrowed through Infrastructure Ontario with a 25-year payback schedule for the Montrose Bigger reconstruction. That's the new hospital, starting with phase 1 October 2025. This was accounted for in the approved 2025 capital budget in November of 2024. So now they're just getting the okay to issue the debenture, and away they go in October. Start working on the infrastructure for the new hospital.
Yeah, I mean, and they put out here the type of interest rates we'll have to pay, and they've been going down steadily since, and it shows here since June of 2024, quarter point every so many months. So it may be a pretty good time now to borrow. And a debenture is very much like a bond of some kind, isn't it?
Well, debenture is basically, a loan. It's basically a loan. That's what is guaranteed by the city.
Yeah.
And the city...
So you can invest it. I guess, can a private citizen invest in a debenture?
I don't know if you can. They used to issue bonds that you could buy for the city of Niagara Falls, and you would get interest in it, right? On it. On the money you invested. And I don't know if you can do that with a debenture. I'm not too... Anybody out there, if you have a comment telling us about debentures and what you can and can't do, I'm not sure about that one. They used to issue bonds, and you'd have coupons you could cash in for the interest, and then you can get your capital back at the end of the maturity date, right?
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So I don't know about debentures, though. I think it's just basically a loan. And this one is from Ontario Infrastructure. So
yeah, okay. So yeah, that'd be kind of interesting how that works.
Yep.
Yeah, so, I've read about them a couple of different times, and it just yeah, you're right. It's just a loan, a fancy name for a loan.
Well, the city's in pretty good shape. The province says they can't have more than 25% of debt, according to their revenue or something like that. I don't know. There's the rules, and they set their own standard at 15%, and they're under that. So they're doing a good job with their debt. John Ringleby might argue that, so we'll see what Johnny has to say about it. But according to what we hear from City Council, they're pretty well under control.
If you look it up and compare it to Welland and St. Catharines and the other cities, we're not bad.
No,
we're not bad.
Not bad at all. And we have the casino money to help us out on that front as well. Item 9.3 is filing claims to City Hall. They have a new pothole to file. A new portal. A Freudian slip.
Yeah. That tire rim really bothers you, doesn't it?
It really does. Yes, it really does. A new portal to file claims. Claims that you're never compensated for and are a waste of time. You can do it online now for your convenience.
Yeah, this is services. This is enhanced services.
Yes.
This actually, it reduces the cost in the city, right? It makes it easier for the regular person to go ahead and make a claim. That's the good part for the citizen, but it's really good for the citizen because the tax load is less on City Hall because they have to pay less money to function this thing.
Yep, time is money, right?
Yeah.
Time is money. You have somebody sitting there processing this. Now you can do it online yourself, and you don't get paid for it. So there you go.
Yeah, you can really stack them up, and you might get an answer. Yeah.
And
no way.
Item 9.5 is going to be, or 9.4 is going to be very interesting. And that's waiver of fees for certain events. And we're going to get into that after I get into my third sponsor here. And that is Hamel Machine Company, Dave's favorite place.
Yes, I do. I love that.
And they've been around since 1948 serving industry in Niagara Falls. And Dave will tell you that without a good machine shop network to service industry and help them deal with breakdowns and parts that break and repairs, they don't like to be in a city where there isn't a good machine shop network, because simply when they break down, time is money and they need it fixed right away. They can't wait for parts to come from Germany or Taiwan or China or South America or Mexico. So they get them fixed at a machine shop, and Hamel Machine Shop has been doing it since 1948 in Niagara Falls. They do not only fix parts, re-engineer parts. they improve them so these companies, these industries have they work better and more efficiently.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they actually invented a few things, right?
They invented agricultural products, hydroponics harvesters that are used around the world now, and new systems for wineries for their showrooms, aluminum racks rather than steel, so that people can handle them by themselves rather than having two people needed to be able to do it. And for Rich's products, they've come up with all kinds of new innovations. That's what they do, Hamill Machine Company, but they haven't forgot about us, Dave.
Have they not?
They have not. If you need a part fixed, if you shear a pin on your snowblower and you need a new channel cut, you need something machined, you can just go down there and they'll fix it. They'll help you fix it. And they can re-engineer a part if you need it. They have 3D printers. They also have water jet cutters, so they can actually create parts that you need if you can't find them. Hamill Machine Company, they've been doing it since 1948. Check out their website. They'll blow your mind. Hamill Machine Company, hamillmachine.ca. That's where you go. You'll see the beautiful work they do, and we thank them for sponsoring the show and the city. All my sponsors were contributors to the Rick Rose event last week. They all kicked in to help support the event. That's what they do. They're good, solid industries and good corporate citizens in Niagara Falls. So please support them.
Yes, and Hamill Machine is a real asset to the economy of the area.
It really is. It really is. So 9.4, council has $50,000 of fees they can waive over a fiscal year. And they've already ripped through over $35,000 in their first round. They do 3 rounds a year of okaying these and leaving approximately $15,000. Approving all of the ones on this docket will leave them only $2,279.26 for the rest of the year. And we have one more round at people looking for money to help support their events. Now, it's not necessarily money. It's closing off streets, not charging them to rent, say, the Gale Center or Oaks Park or any other place where they want to rent meeting rooms at the library, that kind of thing. And, they're already almost out of money. $50,000 is a lot, and there's a lot of people who are requesting items to be financed by the city. And you got to look at it as finance, because if they aren't paying for it, the taxpayers are. Somebody's paying.
Nothing. A lot of stuff. I just go all the way down to the cat and monkey events
yes.
on Halloween, and there's $905 there. So there is a lot. You're right. Now, we're in a situation where is it better for the city to not charge for these, to make these events easier to produce, or is it better for us to get the loot? It's kind of half and half. I think maybe give them a break on the price, the way to go.
And they can do that. Yeah. They can do that. They can say, if it's $4,000 you want waived, we'll waive $2,000 of it. You're responsible for the other $2,000. Yeah, they can do that too.
Yeah, that might be the better, because we're running out of money, right?
See,
although, as we've just said, our finances are in better shape than a lot of other cities, we're still in debt.
We are, and we still have bad roads. We still have a lot of things to fix.
And we still need another concrete ping pong thing.
My thing is with these things, Dave, and I don't know if you agree with me or not, but there's some causes here are looking for like $200 to be waived. I think there should be some kind of a bottom limit on this, like of $1,000. So anything under $1,000, we're not going to okay. Now you can make that number whatever you want. Just because if you can't raise $200, then seriously, you shouldn't have the event. If you need to have $200 waived to make the event successful, there's a problem. So I think there should be a bottom line. Like, we'll only consider any requests over $1,000. You need $200. No, we're not going to waive that. Something.
Yeah. Well, I see something here, Meals on Wheels, for instance. Well, okay, that's completely charitable. So, okay, you might want to waive that. But the Halloween thing?
Yeah, like that's $905 for a private enterprise.
Yeah. And Chippewa Volunteer Fire Association amount $3,000 to waive costs associated with Chippewa Alliance parking lot.
Yeah, no, if you did the $1,000 thing, there would only be 2 events on here that City Council would have to consider. Niagara Jazz Festival, $1,632.85. That's what they want. And Chippewa Volunteer Firemen's Association, 2,028.49. All the rest are under 1,000. And staff has recommended in that report there no to Play Niagara regarding $4,308 of ice rental waiver. So that's going to be interesting what City Council says to that. They're saying no, don't waive that. Make them pay.
Yeah, I think you made a very good point there. If you're running one of these events, you can't come up with a couple $100.
Well, this is my thing. I mean, gee, if you go to any, like, say you're, I don't know, there's one $206 one there, and I'm going like, you can't go to one of your sponsors and get a, like $50, or 4 people can't contribute $50. 10 people contribute a $20 bill. You can't raise.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Like I just, they're so small. It's like, if you can't raise that, how are you gonna run your event? I mean, it's just, these days it's so expensive to run events that, I mean, $200 is really irrelevant. I can understand 3,000 or 4,000. You want to block off the street for an event, and you're asking for it to be waived. Okay, go to City Council, see if they can help you out. But $200.
Yeah, I suggest that that they actually, they might give, like, if it's a charitable event or something like that, definitely give them a break. Maybe
Half
disqualify it all, or even half. Something. These other ones, I'm not so sure. You could, like, if it's a public service thing, or like a jazz festival or something like that, you can see why you want to give it a break. So because people come and enjoy it, and it's a good thing for the whole city. But still, do you really want to give them a break on it all? Because once you give things away for free, it cheapens it. People expect it.
That's the problem. They come back year after year, and at some point, when they're raising our taxes by 25% over the last 4 years, some point they're going to have to say no to these things. They're going to have to be very selective, or make some kind of a rule, like, we can only give you half, or anything under 1,000 we won't consider. There's got to be some thing. Now that one that they're having for Halloween, what they're going to do is go from 905. They'll just put it over 1,000, and then it goes to council, and they decide whether it's viable or not to give them money. And they might still say no, like staff recommended no to Play Niagara. So it's one of those things where you start waiving ice rental fees for this Play Niagara, and then everybody's going to be asking for it. So you're right.
Yeah. And like, it was just, well, you give it to them, you can give it to us.
Yeah, well, we'll watch this and see what they say tonight. That's going to be interesting. That's going to be a good one. That's item 9.4 that you got to watch for. Item 10.1. Now, this is a pretty good read involving money from the province in respect to the Building Faster Fund, where we received $1.7 million, which we are now putting into another fund for a single capital project that deals with the building for the projects that consist of the initiatives approved under the province's Better, Faster Fund grants. And that all has to do with building homes faster. You have to build 8,000 by 2031 because of Doug Ford's Build Homes Faster Act. What was it, C-23 or Bill 23 or something?
Yeah, I appreciate the fire he lit on everybody to get these things done. A lot of that initiative was to get away from Not In My Backyard, the NIMBY thing. That was holding up a lot of developments, and undue regulation, slowing things down. But what we do find now is that pretty much has hit its limit, because there are only so many builders. There are only so many roofers. There are only so many plumbers, sheet metalers, drywallers. There are just so many of them. And you are not going to motivate anybody to move any faster when there's nobody to motivate.
Yeah. So the idea is that as you reach benchmarks, as you reach goals, that you're going to get money from the government under this fund, this grant they're giving away. And we got 1.7 million. So the council wants to put it into another fund that they use just for building these. And that money has to be spent on certain things. And they said it had to be spent by next year or something. But because of the housing slowdown and building slowdown, like you said, for various reasons, they've extended it to 2028, March 2028, for us to spend this money on things that are supposed to be building homes faster. So it's good that we have this money, and they're going to use it to do things pertaining to building homes faster. So we got that money, which is a good thing. But I'm wanting to hear more about this, so I'm hoping they have a little discussion on it and people ask questions about it rather than just saying okay. Items 11.1 to 11.6. I didn't see anything in this, but as always, I do not agree with any flag weight raisings, and they're in there. The Lundy's Lane Business Association had a report, and Clifton Hill Business Associations all had reports in there. And they made sense. When you looked at them, they all added up. They're spending their money. It looks like they're spending their money wisely and running their BIAs perfectly, unlike the nightmare called the Queen Street BIA, which has been dissolved and is being run by the city now. So they all look good. I didn't see anything else in all those 11.1 to 11.6. So unless one of the counselors has an issue with one of them, I don't think we'll hear too much about that, Dave.
No, no. I don't see it either because it's hepatitis day, that kind of thing. I don't think anybody notices that anymore. When you put it's hepatitis day, it's pancreas day, it's this or that day. I think it just nobody even hears it. So
yeah, it's just they should get it out of city council meetings and just they do. They basically take it out by saying, let's approve all these at once.
Yeah.
Okay, done. See you later. That's it. Now, 12.3, this is a good one, has a lot of information regarding water, wastewater that I didn't really understand, to be honest with you. I looked it all over, but it's very complicated. I don't know if anybody from council will have any questions. But there are so many questions right now about capacity breaches as the city grows and the need for a new plant, as well as Mike Cushman saying that they are overflowing it and 50% of the fish died that they exposed to this water and it's going right into the Niagara River. But the capacities that I'm seeing in the numbers appear to be way more than the amount that is received, maybe half of it. So someone would have to explain this all to me, and maybe at City Council they'll explain it as they go through the presentation. It looks like the assessment that the plants have sufficient capacity to accommodate growth in the city beyond the 10-year planning horizon, which should see the Niagara South Online plant come into being, as well as that creating more capacity. Give it a read. You might understand it. I'm sure Mike Cushman's going to be reading it, and I'm sure he'll have some comments on it. But what they're saying here doesn't agree with what I'm hearing from other people.
No, and I've tried to look into this too. It just gets kind of complicated. I think a couple of shows ago I was starting to dig into some of this, and yeah, there's a lot there, man. But there's the idea too that I've always heard, and I don't know if I think it's true, that we lose 20% of our water. 20% of our drinking water is just lost somewhere.
Yeah, it's leaks in the system, old system, decrepit system, leakage,
stealage too. Like there's always been
stealage. Yes,
there's always been that idea that there's multiple thefts out there.
Oh, there are people bypass the meters.
Large hotels bypassing the meters.
And
nobody will touch them. Residents too. Residents, yeah. I knew a guy who did that every year. He phoned the city, told them that he's leaving and there won't be any water being used, just to let him know. All he did was unhook, just dismantle his meter for the winter.
Put a bypass.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. That's how easy it is.
Yeah.
But that'll be in for. I hope they explain that a little bit more so that taxpayers understand it, because it is pretty complicated, and the numbers don't jive with what I hear from guys like Mike Cushman, guys who are talking about this, about overflows and everything else, and what some reports have come back saying about killing the fish and that. So it'll be interesting. Now, the next item, 12.4, is Integrity Commission report regarding Victor Peterangelo, Councillor Peterangelo. And I'm going to get into that after I talk about our new sponsor, Niagara Parks Commission. Yeah, I got a little right up here that I'm gonna go through because I haven't really been doing this till today. It's the first day.
This is interesting.
So I would like to welcome our newest sponsor, Niagara Parks Commission, to the show. Now, if you haven't experienced the Niagara Parks Commission, you have to get down to the parks, featuring 32 miles of the most beautiful greenery and green space you've ever seen, with the centerpiece being Niagara Parks itself. The parks is reinventing itself with all new attractions, including the Whirlpool Pub and Lounge, located at the Niagara Whirlpool Golf Course, a Mardi Gras celebration next weekend, not this one coming, the 20th, at Oaks Garden Theater. And that parade we had on Saturday downtown here was a prelude to that. And they have the Adventure Pass package for everybody if you want to go and see all the different zip lines and everything else that they have and the experience of rank and power and that. You can get an Adventure Pass, saves you money, and their annual parking pass, which is great if you're going down to the park a lot to enjoy the beautiful falls and the beautiful parkway. And you need a place to park. Well, for $50, you have unlimited parking at any of their parking locations.
Yeah.
So a really good deal. Now, you have to experience all that the parks has to offer. It's awesome. And even locals, I mean, if you haven't went and stood down by the falls and just looked at it lately, you're missing it. We get complacent in Niagara Falls, but the Parks Commission offers a lot of great stuff, and you got to get down there and see it. For more information, visit NiagaraParks.com. It'll tell you everything. Thank you for sponsoring our show, and thank you for supporting our sponsors, the Niagara Parks Commission. Just a fantastic, and I keep saying we don't need any more trails in the city. We have 32 miles of the most beautiful trails, centerpiece by Niagara Falls, the Niagara Gorge, the Whirlpool, the Niagara River, right in our own backyard. That's the best place to walk.
We are very lucky in this city. Very lucky. Who else has a gorge? Who else can go down hiking down into the gorge? Who else?
Who else?
Who else, except maybe Gary Wilkins, can go and live in the Whirlpool for a month or two at a time?
Oh, you can. It's awesome, man. And that's what the parks wants everybody to know. It's for locals. It's for tourists. People from around the world listening to the show. You got to come to Niagara Falls and experience the Niagara Parks Commission. Okay. Integrity Commissioner Report.
Dun, 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 dun.
Very interesting complaint made to the Integrity Commissioner by one Laureen O'Connor regarding conflicts of interest charged against Councillor Victor Peter Angelo. And after 17 pages of investigation, I read them all. All charges are there, and a summation of all counts of conflicts, declared or not declared, because that's what it's all about. Him owning property down there in his family, him being in conflict and making decisions regarding the new hospital. All charges were dismissed.
This is the second time he's got out of it. The one with the Stanford volunteer firefighters when they sold him that piece of land for 1/16 of its value.
Yeah,
he got away with that one. That was he got a lawyer, so he's smart there. He got a lawyer here again too.
Yep.
He didn't speak for himself. The lawyer did his talking for him. So I don't know. They weren't able to bring anything to bear on him.
No,
you have to have another lawyer to go after him. I think that was if you really wanted to have a chance. If there really was anything substantive of this, he's protected very well with a very lawyer. He's smart. He did that. But unless you have another lawyer on the other side, how far can you advance this? I don't know.
Well, the good thing is that the Integrity Commissioner didn't fool around with this one. 17 pages. He went through point by point of all charges and explained every one of them and told you why he dismissed it. And what can I tell you? They hire an Integrity Commissioner. He goes through it. He ascertains whether it was a violation of the code of conduct or not. And at the end of the day, he said none of them were. All charges were dismissed. And I can guarantee you that this little soiree with the Integrity Commissioner cost the city and taxpayers, I would say $50,000 to $100,000.
Yeah, and most of the accusations came mostly from in one article in the Pointer, and the complaint
right by Ed Smith.
Yeah, Ed Smith wrote
yes.
it. He's the same guy that wrote the article for Mike and Gary. Very good article, by the way. And Mike Smith. Now that was her problem, O'Connor. O'Connor, I can't remember.
O'Connor.
She used that fundamentally as the basis of her complaints. Now, what she should have done is further research, if she had done, but she may not have had the means. If she had done, she may have been able to make either a better case or not taking the case at all.
Yeah, well, any article like that is just one media guy, scribe, taking a look at it and saying there's a conflict here, there's a conflict there, there's a conflict here. How deep that he goes into it and knows all the background is the matter in question, because it's an opinion, much like I sit here and give my opinions, and sometimes they're bang on, and sometimes they're not, because I don't have all the information. I'm just giving my look at it. So it's the same with Ed Smith. So if somebody wants to take what I say and file charges, well, they've got to do more than just go on what I say, because it's only my opinion. Everybody's got a different opinion. So I think that might be what happened here.
She should have got a lawyer. I know it's kind of hard when you're just an individual and you see something you think is corrupt. Now, when you've already seen like Peter Angelo being brought up for a case similar to that, kind of, and you could see that he wasn't voting. Like his family acquired that land, and it was very expensive land, and you would immediately assume that because of his position at City Hall, he would know things ahead of time.
Yes.
That would, and they've been trying to acquire that land for a long time, apparently, according to the article, anyway. And but they knew how to dot their I's and cross their T's, evidently.
Well, you hit on a good point. And one of the big things that the Integrity Commissioner said was that Councillor Peter Angelo has been very, very meticulous about declaring conflicts of interest when he has to, and before anything that he wasn't sure of, he consulted with his lawyer to say, can I sit in on this, or am I in conflict, to get a legal opinion on it. And he did that consistently through all the times that they're talking about. So the Integrity Commissioner said, he was meticulous at what he did. He looked at all of them to see. So, there's no conflict here. And he made sure there wasn't. And that was a big part of what he said, right? He said the guy did it right.
Yeah.
And so you got to give him credit.
There may be legal ways in which you can acquire an advantageous position in looking for land and property and so on. There are ways in which probably you can do that, as long as they're legal.
So, read the report. You'll see it. I mean, there's 17 pages of the Integrity Commission, and it cost us taxpayers a lot of money for this. And well, here we are, right? Paying again. Yeah. Paying again. And it wasn't Jody Burnett this time, which surprised me right there when I saw that name. I'm going, oh, that's not how you spell Jody Burnett. Item 15.3, a motion by Councillor Mona Patel, who was very gracious and said hello, Paul, and shook my hand at the Rick Rose event. I was shocked. They want to install,
brother.
They want to install a memorial crosswalk to honor our veterans, which I think is a tremendous idea.
Long overdue.
Well and already, as 2 and other municipalities are also doing them. Niagara Falls should not be left out. 2 crosswalks, I'd say. To honor veterans, about $10,000 a piece maybe, would be great. I know there's already someone, because I've talked to that someone, I'm not going to mention any names, that is willing to take it on and fundraise and get this done for our veterans. And I've volunteered to do what I can to help. And so have others, like Gary Wilkins said, Paul, I'm in. You let me know what I can do to help, and I'm in when this guy decides to go for it. And I think, Dave, we should get this done. Who better to honor than our veterans? And
absolutely.
And actually, there's a big movement even to mark June as Veterans Month instead of Pride Month, and I agree 100% with that as well.
Well, I don't know what Pride Month used to be around Halloween. As a matter of fact, Pride, the gay parade used to be on Halloween, and because they had so much objections to it, they moved it to another day because it's a kids' holiday, right? So they moved that. So I don't know. I don't know where Pride Month will go or whatever, but anyway, I guess they could be both.
And I love veterans crosswalks.
Yeah, I do too.
I can't wait.
Look, we've lost a lot of our things like Stanford Memorial Arena, right? That was called Stanford Memorial Arena, and a lot of the old vets worked on that because it was done largely by volunteer labor, and they wanted a memorial arena to memorialize those lads that didn't come back.
Yeah, they had a cenotaph right up front.
Yeah,
cenotaph, what do they call it? Cenotaph, right up front.
Yeah,
and the same with Niagara Falls Memorial Arena.
Yeah, memorial. Now those two are gone, so we need other things to remind us of the vets. I'll never forget them, but there are younger people up here. I knew vets growing up, but my sons and my and whoever else is growing up now, that's a distant memory for them. Even though our armed forces are still engaged around the world, but that is so important. I think.
Thank a vet when you see one, and let's get these crosswalks done. I want to get them done. I don't show up for many ceremonies. I just don't do it. But this one, I'll be there when they decide to dedicate a crosswalk. Yeah. That's one I want to go to. We salute you. Item 16, ratification of bylaws. They're just bylaws that have already been talked about, already been voted on, and they're just ratifying them, putting them into law or whatever. And they'll be yes unless somebody picks something out that they want discussed, but they seldom do on those ones. All are going to be approved. And after that, it's the end. We go to adjournment, and that's the end of that.
Good show. Perfect timing, because I got stuff to do.
Yeah, really? There you go. Yeah. Awesome. So don't forget, it starts at 2 o'clock. They go in camera, but the real show will start at around 5 o'clock, 5:30, and that'll be on Cogeco TV, the local channel, if you have that, or on YouTube Live, or on Niagara Falls, NiagaraFalls.ca. You can also find the agenda on NiagaraFalls.ca.
It'll be nice and cool in there tomorrow night if it's hot. All you homeless people out there, if you're sweltering hot, there'll be a good place for you to go. All you have to do is sit there and listen.
That's all. You'll fall asleep, bring in a pillow.
Can't smoke, okay.
It'll be nappy time.
Yeah, you got to go outside to smoke.
You got to go outside to smoke, yeah. And you can't yell and scream crazy because they'll throw you out. That's it, Davey boy. That's the end of it. So don't forget to support our sponsors, Niagara Falls Parks Commission. Niagara Parks Commission, new sponsor, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue, and Hamel Machine Company. They support us. They support the city. And they're just great people, great corporate people, and we should support them the best we can. We thank you very much for tuning in today. City Council Agenda Review on this Manic Monday. Paul K. Lemire, Dave Wheeler, your city, your voice, in the studios of 4680Q in downtown Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. God bless you all. Have a great day, and we will talk to you tomorrow with Trash Talking Tuesday.
Adieu.
I bid you adieu?
Yes.
Is that what you always say?
I always say, without further ado, I bid you adieu.
And that's the end of it. Ciao, ciao, everybody.